So, good evening. I hope everybody is enjoying your weekend and having a blessed uh, weekend so far. Tomorrow is Sunday. It just seems like it went so fast. But it's been getting a whole bunch of alerts. There's not really much going on in the Middle East. It's the same old same with Israel and Hezbollah and Hamas. They took out another commander. That's about it. But it's about the same. There hasn't been any real escalations this weekend. They bombed Beirut on Friday and took out a Hezbollah commander, I believe, but it's pretty much the same. But the Ukraine-Russia war is the one that is escalating, and I think that Trump, the incoming Trump administration, and Donald Trump kept, he keep promising that he's going to be able to stop World War III, but he doesn't realize that you got two major wars going on at the same time, simultaneously. You got the war in the Middle East with Israel and Iran and Hamas and Hezbollah, but you also got this Ukraine-Russia war, and now North Korea has entered into the war to fight with Russia against Ukraine. So he keeps saying that he's going to be able to stop World War III, but I think Biden Biden has done something. He didn't pull a wild card out, and I guess Biden is probably just kind of no. Let me be serious for a minute. What it is that Ukraine knows that they're on borrowed time basically now. They have a little over 60 days, about 60 days. It's going to be pretty much a wrap for Ukraine when Donald Trump takes office in January. So what Biden, well, no, Biden did give Ukraine permission to use American long-range missiles to strike inside of Russia as a result of North Korea joining in this war with Russia against Ukraine. That's the reason why Biden allowed or he lifted the restrictions off of the use of those American long-range missiles for Ukraine. But now it just seems like like Biden is just like, you know what, screw it, just do what he's telling Ukraine now. I've lost the election. We've lost the election. Trump is about to get back in there, and he's probably telling Zelensky, do what you got to do. I've lifted all restrictions. Do what you got to do. They're double teaming you over there with North Korea troops and Russian troops. And it's just at this point they're not imposing any type of restrictions on Ukraine because Ukraine is being outgunned and outnumbered by Russia and North Korea at this point. So also, I believe that with Zelensky, he knows his days are numbered because Donald Trump has won re-election. So he knows that he's going to have to do something. He's going to have to make some serious moves from now until before January 20th. So I think what Ukraine is going to try to do is pull NATO into this war. They're going to do whatever they can to pull NATO into this war. And it has already, been established that Putin has said, he has threatened the U.S. and the UK and NATO that if you allow Ukraine to strike Russia, inside of Russia, with your long-range intercontinental ballistic missiles, we will consider that as a declaration of war between NATO and Russia, and we will act accordingly. So this is the reason why Russia hit Ukraine with that new orange, what is it called? I just had it. That new missile. And this missile is designed to carry nuclear warheads, and they're saying that it could hit any country in Europe in under 20 minutes and destroy whole towns, whole cities, and possibly whole countries like Great Britain and France. So the UK has lifted their restrictions off of Ukraine's use of their weapons and told them they can use their weapons any way they see fit at this point. The US has lifted their restrictions. Germany is going to provide, France has lifted their restrictions, and France has also proposed deploying troops over to Ukraine to help fight with boots on the ground to Ukraine to help out since North Korea has joined the war. So France is strongly contemplating sending troops over there to help Ukraine out. So this is putting Vladimir Putin and Russia up against the wall. And the Kremlin has been holding emergency meetings. They are building bunkers, and they are building more. They're building more missiles, and they're pretty much, their back is up against the wall. Now there have been news reports. I don't know if it's fake news or what. They're saying that Putin has been asking Trump to intervene and see if he can do something, but there's really nothing Trump can do at this point because Trump has not even been inaugurated yet. So there's nothing Trump can do to intervene to stop this. He can't talk to Zelensky because Zelensky knows that Trump is going to pretty much wash his hands of Ukraine. Once Biden leaves, Zelensky knows that it's over for Ukraine at this point. So Zelensky has to do something very drastic between now and January 20th. And that's his only option will be to bring NATO into the war to fight with Ukraine. That's about his only option. So that's what I think they're going to do. I'm surprised they have not shelled that Zaporizhzhia power plant, that nuclear power plant, because they've been trying to shell that thing for months. So I'm surprised that Ukraine hasn't just went on ahead and just struck that power plant to bring NATO into it, because when they do that, that's going to affect Poland, which is a NATO country. But now, I don't even know if they need to do that, because Putin has now threatened to hit Poland, which is a NATO country that has a U.S. base and a missile depository. Poland has U.S. missiles at a base that Putin has now said is on Russia's hit list. They're going to strike that base to destroy those missiles, because pretty much Russia has said that we are now in war with NATO. Russia has declared war against NATO because of the lifting of these restrictions on Ukraine. So this is amping up. Trump thought that, he was going to be able to just slide on in there on January 20th, and he claims he's going to be this peacemaker or whatever, but Biden said, you know what, I'm going to kick it off before I leave. So Biden is kind of like, I'm going to just blow everything up on my way out. Since y'all did me dirty, y'all voted Kamala out, I'm going to just blow everything up on my way out. I don't care what happens. That's the way that Biden's looking at it. That's why I think Biden is looking at it. And he knows that Ukraine is doomed the minute Trump is sworn into office on January 20th. So that's what I think is happening. Zelensky and Ukraine are in very desperate. They're going to take desperate measures at this point. And there's nothing Donald Trump is going to be able to do, because Zelensky probably does not trust nothing Donald Trump says. He knows Donald Trump is going to let Putin have Ukraine. So it could be that Donald Trump may try to meet with Putin and say, hey, look, if you just chill until I get in the office in January, I'm going to just go ahead and cut military aid to Ukraine, and then you just go on ahead and take it over. But just chill and just make me look good. Let me wait till I get in and make me look good in January to make it look like I came in and stopped all this. That could be a deal. But what incentive does Vladimir Putin have to do that at this point. If Ukraine keeps hitting them with long-range missiles right now, not in January, they're hitting them with long-range missiles provided by NATO allies and countries right now. So what incentive does Putin have to wait on Donald Trump to get in office? None. Putin is in a desperate situation too, because he's going to have to do something. His back is up against the wall now. So, like I said, I look for Putin to, if they keep on, and Ukraine, if Ukraine hits them hard enough, Putin is going to take out one of those European countries. It's going to either be France, Great Britain. I don't know about Germany, but it's going to be France or Great Britain. That's what I look at. And they might be so bold, him and Kim Jong-un may even be so bold as to hit a United States city. He might try to hit D.C. or, I know they might try London, but D.C., Paris, France, all of them are on the hit list probably. They probably, are targets, legitimate targets for Russia to strike at this point. So that's what's happening over there. I don't want to focus on the war too much because there's something else I wanted to do. But yeah, it is heating up, and there's nothing Donald Trump can do about that because Putin doesn't have any incentive to. They're calling Putin's bluff, and they're seeing that if Putin is just talking, or is he really about that life? So they're pushing Putin up against the wall. His back is against the wall, and he's going to either have to put up or shut up. Because at this point, the UK and Germany and France and NATO and the US are all saying that Putin is just bluffing. He's just talking. He's not going to do anything. So the ball is now in Putin's court, in Russia's court, to see what they're going to do. Ukraine is going to try to bring NATO in because they need help. They're desperate right now. So that's the end of that. That's how that's going to go. Before January 20th. World War III is going to kick off before January 20th. So Trump has no power or control over that. And neither does Elon Musk. So I think they said he cut off Starlink to Ukraine as a favor to Vladimir Putin, and because he's cool with Putin. So he cut off Starlink in Ukraine, but they don't have any power or control over this war at this point. And with Ukraine being as desperate as they are, World War III is probably going to kick off way before January 20th. Probably going to kick off before Christmas. So that's where that is. Those are the wars and rumors of wars. So enough of that for now. I want to talk about this violence that's going on. Man, all this transgender, this alphabet violence, this LGBTQ violence that's going on. There's a disturbing story about a lady or two women. They were lesbians and they were married. They were in, this happened in Indianapolis. A body has been found in the UAE. Oh, okay, but anyway, I'm getting all these telegram alerts. Back to my story. Back to the news story. Is a lesbian couple. They were married. The killer was 42 and the victim was 33, and they were legally married for under a year. And the 42-year-old ended up killing the 33-year-old because I guess they broke up. And she went to the lady's house, went to her, I don't want to call her wife. I don't agree with that. I'm sorry, I don't agree with it. But she went to her lover, her partner's house. I guess they had broken up and they maybe were on the verge of splitting up or whatever because they said they didn't live together. So this 42-year-old went to the 33-year-old's house, disconnected her car battery so she couldn't drive away and leave, and shot her multiple times. And then after she shot her, she went on a high-speed chase with state troopers and ended up going like 150 miles before stopping, and she either shot herself in her car or the trooper shot her, because it seems like at the time she stopped, because she was in hot pursuit. They were pursuing her, and I think they chased her from Cincinnati, Ohio to some parts of Indiana, or either some parts of Indiana into Ohio for 150 miles. And when she stopped, I guess she had to think, and I'm my life is over. So she killed herself. They were saying it was a single shot from inside the car. At the same time, I guess the troopers shot. And so they're trying to determine if she killed herself or if she died from the bullets from the troopers. So, very sad situation. They said there were 3 children involved. So, I don't know, because they both were women. I don't know whose children were whose, but they said there were 3 kids involved. So this is very sad, and they show pictures of them and video of these women with their marriage license and with their tattoos that says, one of the tattoos on the arm says till death, and then the other woman had the tattoo that says do us part. So they had that tattooed on their arm, and they tattooed that into fruition. It happened just as it said, till death do they part, because she ended up killing her multiple times, shooting her multiple times and killing her, and then turning around killing herself. That was very sad. And the kids, they're going to suffer in the end, because they're the ones that's left to deal with all of this mess. So, there was also a situation where this transgender biological man was beaten and robbed at a Houston gas station a couple of weeks ago. It was very sad and unfortunate. And they got a picture of the suspect on camera at the gas station, so hopefully they find that individual and bring them to justice. And then there was also a sad story of a transgendered teen who was beaten at school, and it was caught on video. And the mother and the teen is traumatized because of that. I'm going to say this. I may not agree with the LGBTQ lifestyle. I don't agree with all this transgender stuff that's going on, because I'm a Christian, and I just don't believe that, because the Bible forbids that lifestyle, those lifestyle behaviors and those lifestyle practices. But I do not agree with all of this violence and all of this hatred, just all of this violence and all of this mistreatment of people who choose to live these lifestyles. I think that's wrong, because you want to attack and hurt a person and assault a person and kill a person because of their sexual orientation. Because at the end of the day, homosexuality is no worse than adultery and fornication. So if that's the case, if you want to treat, sexual immorality the way that you treat it, you don't hear about all these people attacking people who are adulterers and fornicators and prostitutes and things like that, like you do, the hate that's directed toward the LGBTQ. So I think that's wrong. You see a man, there's another story, I didn't post it on here, but there's another story about 2 transgendered biological born men who are now transgendered women that were attacked in Minneapolis or Minnesota, some parts of Minnesota. I think it was Minneapolis. And they were attacked and beaten by a mob just for being who they are. That's wrong. That's evil. And I hope that they bring all of these suspects to justice, because you don't have no right to attack and assault another human being just because they sin differently than how you sin. That's wrong. So that's just a terrible world we live in, man. It's a terrible world we live in. There's another disturbing story about a sick pastor who pastored a small church in Winthrop, Arkansas. His name was James Cowan, Cowan. And he has just been sentenced to 50 years in prison for molesting 3 of his own biological children. And the sad part about it is that the mother knew. She was aware of the molestation because he told her. And she failed to contact the authorities or to intervene or do anything to protect her children. So they arrested her too. And he got sentenced to 50 years in prison because his children were all under 14 years of age, and he raped his own biological children. And he was a pastor of a church, and she was a first lady, and she allowed it to happen. Now, a lot of times, people, they want to make excuses for the mother and say, well, she might have been scared, and she probably didn't have no way of leaving and had no income and no means of taking her kids and leaving him. And that's all cap, because they got a lot of programs for domestic violence victims and shelters and things like that, especially when it involves a threat to her safety, her health and safety, and the health and safety of those kids. She would have been able to go somewhere and to get protection and housing and assistance in order to leave this sick individual. But she didn't. For some reason, she did not turn him into the police, and she allowed it to continue. So they arrested her because of that. And a lot of times the mothers, they will know that these kids are being raped and abused, and they stay for their own selfish purposes because they don't want to be alone, or because they love the perpetrator, and they put their own happiness and their own wants and needs ahead of the safety and sanity of those children. You see that a lot in these situations, that they knowingly know that these kids, they fail to protect these kids out of their own selfish needs, their own selfishness. So she's going to get some time too, because she allowed this to go on and didn't do anything about it. She was not a victim, obviously, because the police arrested her and charged her. Pastor and First Lady, false prophets, had a church. In other false prophet news, Pope Francis. And I just noticed that this was all coinciding in this. It all happened around the same time. Pope Francis had called for an investigation of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for Pope Francis accused Israel of committing genocide in Gaza. And he called for an investigation and called this terrorism. He said that what Israel was doing in Gaza was considered terrorism. This is what this Pope said, Pope Francis. And he called for an investigation. This was a few days ago. And so now the ICC, the International Criminal Court, has issued a warrant for Prime Minister Netanyahu and his former general, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. So now they can't go to 124 countries without risking being arrested and sent to The Hague. So they will be, if they get arrested, if they step foot in any one of those countries and get arrested, they will go to The Hague and they will be tried before The Hague for war crimes and crimes against humanity. But I noticed that this happened right after that Pope said that Israel should be investigated. And all Israel was doing was defending itself against the attacks from October 7th of last year. So they're turning on Israel just like the Bible prophesied. Even this false prophet Pope, has turned on Israel. And now they have painted Netanyahu and Israel as the villains when they were the ones that were attacked last year by Hamas. And they're just defending themselves. And because they're winning the war, now they're being painted as the villains. But that's how the Bible prophesied that this was going to happen in the end time. So, also, what's up with this false prophet Pope? he had lunch the other day with 1,300 poor people. I guess because Jesus, the whole concept was Jesus sat and ate with the poor, so I guess he's going to sit and eat with the poor too. It's all symbolic. It doesn't mean anything because you haven't done it. What are you doing to change the condition of the poor? I know Jesus said the poor you'll always have with you, but you just sitting up eating with the poor. What does that mean? Oh, we just ate lunch with the Pope, and okay. But I guess that's all a part of outreach. He's connecting with the lower class people, and it's all a part of the outreach, I guess, and evangelism with that church, within the Catholic Church. But he sat and ate with 1,300 poor people. And then another thing that he done in the past week was he changed the way popes are buried when they die. He has simplified the funeral ceremonies for popes. He changed it to where it's not so grand, to where popes don't receive this like royal burial as rulers and kings. And the whole reasoning behind this is because they want popes to be buried as pastors and not rulers or kings. So Pope Francis, I guess it was an act of humility or whatever, was saying that, I want to be buried as a pastor, not as a ruler or a king. And he changed this whole thing and applied that to future popes that come after him. So I don't know if he thinks his time is drawing near, he thinks he's going to die soon or what, but he did change the whole ceremony, to a more simple, a simple ceremony, and not no grand royal burial fit for a king, but he wanted a funeral fit for a pastor. So we'll see. I don't know if he did that. Maybe he thinks he's about to die. I don't know. But anyway, that's about it. Oh, there's a bread shortage. There's a bread shortage in Gaza. They said something about there's a flour shortage, which is causing a major bread shortage in Gaza. Now, a couple of months ago, they said that Cuba was having the same issues because both Gaza and Cuba are experiencing food shortages. Both are right on the brink of famine at this point. So there's a lot of chaos going on in both of those countries, in Gaza and Cuba. And I posted the videos about that because Cuba, I remember they mentioned that they were having a serious bread shortage, and they have decreased the rationings to the families because of that. And now Gaza is experiencing lack of flour and bread shortages over there. But Gaza is experiencing, both countries are experiencing food shortages, period. So and they're on the verge of famine at this point. But Jesus said he is the bread of life. And it just makes me think that maybe they don't have any bread because they don't believe in Jesus. In Cuba or Gaza, they don't believe in Jesus in neither one of those countries. Jesus is the bread of life. Maybe if they had Jesus, then they wouldn't have that issue. And then it also speaks to the whole end time prophecy about bread being expensive in the end time. But no, that all happens afterwards. This is the whole thing with the bread, price of barley. It's the scripture is on the top of my brain. But the Bible did say in the end times that bread was going to be expensive, and that's what's happening now in certain parts of the world. And it's possibly going to happen in America too, the way things are happening. Man, I'm getting all these alerts. It says the U.S. Air Force confirmed following reports. Nothing. That's nothing. It says the body was found in the UAE. The Jewish rabbi. They were looking for him. Somebody killed a Jewish rabbi over in the UAE. Yep, they killed him. They need to get out of those countries, those Arab countries, because they're in too much danger. They're in so much danger by staying over there with all this hostility over there in the Middle East right now. It's just not safe for any Jewish person to be in an Arab country. So that's about it. There's a lot of stuff going on, but yeah, that's about it. I'm gonna cut this short. I'm gonna post the stories up here, but I want to do one about the rapture, because the way this stuff is going, it's something that people need to get a clear understanding of, and the different points of views regarding the rapture and the second coming of Christ. So I wanted to do like a video about that to kind of explain it to some people who may not understand the different views about the rapture. And, you know, all of the things, the events that are leading up to the rapture. A lot of people don't have an understanding of that, because those books, Revelations, Ezekiel, Daniel, those are pretty confusing books to read that talks about the end times. But now Thessalonians, you know, is pretty clear. You know, the day of the Lord, and it talks about being caught up in the air and things like that. Those Thessalonians 1 or 2 are pretty clear about the last days, the end times. But Daniel, Ezekiel, and Revelations, those are pretty hard books to, those prophetic books are very hard to understand for a lot of people. So I like to try to break it down. Now, I'm not a preacher, I'm not a pastor or nothing like that, and I'm just, you know, trying to explain it, you know, from my own studies and my own research here at home. You know, I'm not trying to teach nobody, you know, I'm just trying to explain some things, you know, that I've learned in my research and my understanding of how, you know, the rapture is and the end times and things like that. But yeah, I encourage everybody to do your own research, talk to your own pastors, and just go and seek out the information. Pray and ask God for understanding and wisdom about everything that's happening. You pray and ask Him for it, He will give it to you. You know, so that's what I did. That's what I'm doing. And I learn something new every day, you know, and I just thirst, you know, for, you know, I just have a hunger, a thirst, and a longing, you know, to know and just to be prepared, you know, for when Jesus does return to the earth, first to collect His church, and then to come back and declare war on His enemies, and then to establish His earthly kingdom. So all these things are going to happen, and so we have to be watchful and mindful of everything that's going on, all of the events that's taking place that's leading up to those future events. So I'm going to do a video about that. And with that, I'm going to end this. Have a blessed weekend, rest of your weekend. I will have another video up here. Enjoy your Sunday tomorrow, or today, because it's after midnight now. Enjoy your weekend. Please be safe. Stay prayed up. If you haven't been baptized, blood washed, and born again, please make the decision to do so. Get saved as soon as you can. If you have family members, you have loved ones, friends, family, loved ones, colleagues, anybody that has not been saved, then pray and ask the Lord to enter into their hearts, give them the heart and the mind and the spirit to get saved and to commit their lives to Christ before it's too late. And so that's the only thing we can do, is just pray for ourselves, our loved ones, and for each other. So, all right, y'all. Be blessed, and I will be back. My next video is going to be on the rapture. So, all right. See y'all. Peace. Oh, man, there was one more important thing I wanted to touch on before I left out of the video that I needed to add. I forgot. It's very important. about this whole with these Texas and Oklahoma have the Texas, Oklahoma statewide, the school boards have implemented um, Bible education, or that the Bible be taught in schools in their states. And some Christians, on the surface you think that that's a good thing, but then, this is being challenged. And I look for these two cases to be brought to the Supreme Court, because this actually is trying to impose like a white Christian nationalist view on these different school districts, by imposing this requirement that all schools in those states teach the Bible. So not only does this impinge upon people's religious rights, because everybody is not a Christian, everybody does not read the Bible, everybody is not religious. You have to take into consideration that this country is not, people have religious rights. They have the right to believe in God, to not believe in God. They have the right to practice whatever religion they choose to, or not practice a religion. And when you impose the Bible and Christianity on a state, that violates the fundamental principles of the Constitution, which is a separation it's the separation of church and state. So that is a major violation of people's constitutional rights, because there's supposed to be a separation of church and state. And you're imposing this Bible curriculum on these school districts, on these students, and that's going to face a lot of challenges in the Supreme Court in the future. But not only that, you have to also understand that the Bibles that these states are trying to require as recommended or required reading, or that they're trying to use in these school districts, these are Bibles that were endorsed by Donald Trump. These are not just regular standard King James Version Bibles or New International Version Bibles with, just the Holy Scriptures. These are Bibles because, Oklahoma and Texas are both red states. And the Bibles that they're trying to require for recommended or as required reading are these Trump Bibles that Trump was selling for $60. And these are not, like I said, these are not regular holy Bibles with just scripture. These Bibles include like the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. Hold on, let me get that story up here. Because these Bibles he was selling during his campaign to raise money. And he was selling these Bibles for $60. And they're called God Bless America Bibles or something. And it's based off of that Lee Greenwood song that he always used for his campaign theme song. And where is that book? But I'm just saying all this to let you all know that people will think on the surface, Christians will think on the surface, oh, Trump is trying to get the Bible back in the schools, and he's a Christian, and he's really, don't be deceived. This man is not a Christian. He is pretending to be a Christian. He is deceiving many people to make them believe that he believes in the Bible. And I bet you if you sit him down and grill him on some of the passages in the Bible and some of the information in the Bible, he would not have a clue. But that's that end time deception that the Bible prophesied about. This man is not a Christian. He does not believe in the Bible. He's used his Bible to generate money and profits for himself, to raise money pretty much, to fatten his pockets. And he has altered the Bible. He has changed the Word of God. So people just need to be more informed and aware of, a lot of the tricks of the enemy. Man, where is that? Let me go to it. It tells you he included these government documents, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, but he omitted some of the amendments in the Bill of Rights that included the outlaw of slavery and different things like that. And I'm trying to find that story so I can tell you exactly what is omitted out of this Bible. So he just pretty much changed the whole Bible. And these are the Bibles that they want to try to put in these schools, these red states, these red Republican ran school boards, and these superintendents that support the Republican right-wing Christian nationalist agenda are trying to get these Trump-endorsed Bibles in these classrooms. So it presents two problems. The first problem is that it violates the First Amendment of the Constitution by impinging upon people's religious rights or religious freedoms. And secondly, it's because the type of Bible that they are trying to require these school districts to use is this Trump-endorsed Bible. It ain't like they were trying to use the regular King James Version or New International Version or something like that. This is a Bible that has been altered and changed to fit Trump's agenda, the Trump administration's agenda and the Christian nationalist agenda, which is a white supremacist Christian nationalist agenda. So don't be fooled. People have to really pay attention to a lot of things that they're trying to deceive you with. I mean, you got to be as gentle as doves and wise as serpents in this end time, because you can easily be deceived by these people. That man is not no Christian. I don't even think he believes in God, to be honest. I don't think he accepts Jesus as his Lord and Savior at all. Okay, y'all, let me find that story. I hate when I do this. I should have had it just up here, ready to go. But it's, darn it. Where is it? All right, let's see here. But yeah, it's not that he's such a devout Christian and he wants the Bible to be taught in schools and he wants prayer to be in school and everything. No, this is for his own agenda. Let's see. Where is it at? Let's see. There it is. That's the story right there. Trump Bible required. See, Oklahoma City, I think they blocked him. I think the school board blocked him. That superintendent was trying to put those Trump Bibles in the Oklahoma schools. I think they blocked him. They voted it to block it because they knew that he was a Trump supporter. But it says the judge. No, that's the hush money case. No, not that. No. We want the Bible case. Matter of fact, they postponed that Stormy Daniels case. They more than likely, I don't know. New York is a heavily Democratic state, so they might not throw that case out. But I know they postponed the sentencing of Donald Trump. But he's appealing that conviction, and you might get some coward judge who might throw that case out. I don't know. But it's postponed right now. But it's still up for appeal because he appealed that conviction. So they might overturn that conviction. But we'll see. But New York does not like Trump at all. And that is a deep blue state. So I doubt if they turn it out. They might just kind of stall everything until he leaves office. So, but anyway, this Trump Bible required by the Oklahoma Department of Education contains the U.S. Constitution and minus some very important texts. It said it straight up omits Amendments 11 through 27 as if the Bill of Rights and the body of the Constitution are the entirety of the text. It says it also, it omits all the equal protection and presidential term limit requirements. I told y'all he's going to try to do something to get rid of those term limits so he can stay in office. So he was selling them for $59.99. And yeah, it includes the Declaration of Independence, the Pledge of Allegiance, the lyrics to God Bless America, the USA, that Lee Greenwood song, and the U.S. Constitution, which you can get online for free. Let's see what else. But it admits a lot of the equal protections that is afforded to American citizens on under the Constitution. It does not include those things. See, the Holy Bible doesn't have all that God bless the USA lyrics and Bill of Rights and all that stuff, because the Bible is a universal book. It's a global book. It's not an American book. You don't add things into, and the Bible said that in the book of Revelations. It says, "Cursed is those who add to the book and take away from it." So Trump may have cursed himself by doing that, and the publishers of that Bible then cursed themselves by doing that. You don't alter God's word to fit your agenda. But it says it erases. It says Trump's version of the Constitution just erases the rest of the text. It does. Trump's version of the Constitution just erases the rest of the text from constitutional law. You know, things pertaining to the ending of slavery and things like that. They said that Bible doesn't have that, and the presidential term limits and stuff like that. It takes out a lot of, it says Amendments 11 through 27. Said it just outright omits those. The amendments shouldn't even be in the Bible in the first place. None of those governmental documents, or the Constitution, Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, and song lyrics, have no business in God's holy book, period. But this is the Bible that they're trying to put in the schools. So do not be deceived and think that this man is doing a noble, pious thing by putting these Bibles in these schools and promoting this Bible. He's doing it for his own agenda, and it's very antichrist. So yeah, I'm gonna stop because I left that out. I forgot that story, and I left it out of the other video. But yeah, do your own research and realize that they're messing with God's word now. They're messing with the Bible now. So, all right, y'all. I'm gonna cut this off, and you can go on to the main video. Peace. God bless.
The State Board of Education is expected to set new curriculum standards tomorrow that could add Bible stories to elementary school lesson plans. Hello, everybody. I'm Steve Eager. So the board already indicated it will approve this material, and Fox 4's Sean Rabb talked with one group that has some concerns. Sean.
Yeah, the Interfaith Alliance, a national group formed in the mid-90s. Now, they're concerned about one faith being promoted over others and the tension as well as hurt that might bring. Train up a child in the way he should go. When he is old, he will not depart from it. That's the teaching of the collections of wise sayings in the Bible called Proverbs. But not all religious organizations favor teaching lessons from the Bible as an option in Texas elementary schools.
I think it's very bad for religion, and it's very bad for public education.
Reverend Paul Rauschenbusch is president and CEO of Interfaith Alliance. composed of many faiths at the intersection of democracy and religion, and is against the idea of Bible stories like the Good Samaritan or the Golden Rule being taught in kindergarten through 5th grade.
Don't you want control over how your faith is taught? And don't you want to tell those stories yourself and be the one who imparts the meaning of those stories instead of having someone who you don't know talk about your own faith?
In a preliminary vote earlier this week, 8 of the 15 board members in favor of adopting the Bluebonnet Learning state-developed instructional material.
Does it work? Well, I have a school district in my SBOE district that did it. And I went and watched it. I've watched it. I've sat in the classrooms. And I think it works.
I just think that if we try to let too much be taken over by any one religion, we risk damaging the experience of children who have differing beliefs.
Texas school districts can choose what curriculum they want to use, but the state will offer financial incentive, $60 to a district for every student using Bluebonnet if it passes the final State Board of Education vote. Some are praying public schools stay free of religious teachings and that Bible study stays in Sunday school.
What we really want in this country is religious freedom that is true religious freedom for everyone, because that's the only way it works.
And Texas, of course, not alone in this measure. Oklahoma, Louisiana, also looking at teaching some of the Bible in their public schools. State Board of Education members expected to vote tomorrow.
And the state superintendent plans to put Bibles in every Oklahoma classroom. But there are questions, not only about the money.
You can't take money from one place and move it to another and spend on another.
But also, which Bible?
A lot of people call it a Trump Bible.
$3 million of your tax dollars could go to a Bible endorsed by former President Trump.
Bible companies can now submit their bids, and many are concerned.
News 4's Dylan Brown is joining us with details on this. Dylan, what did you find out?
A whole lot, Kevin and Jolene. Well, essentially, OSDE wants bids for Bibles. It's their proposal, essentially, outlining a Bible with requirements only a select few really have. One of those, a Bible endorsed, as you said, by former President Trump. Lawmakers, though, say the purchase wouldn't be legal.
Oklahoma's Department of Education officially asking for bids on Bibles. A request for proposal, 55,000 Bibles. The cost, $3 million.
So this would give us the ability to utilize $6 million.
So we're like, wait a minute.
Oklahoma Watch has been diving into the details all week. OSDE told them the $3 million comes from payroll. This is an agency scarred by staffing issues.
Questions about whether this department has the staff to do their critical function, right?
Walters says the Bibles have to be the King James Version, but with rare inclusions of the U.S. Bill of Rights, the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, even the Pledge of Allegiance. Spokesman Dan Assett not responding to our request for comment, but taking to X, saying they expect a robust competition for this proposal. But Oklahoma Watch found one that comes the closest.
God Bless the USA Bible.
Which that's the Lee Greenwood one, right?
That's the Lee Greenwood one. People call the Trump Bible.
That's the Bible endorsed by former President Donald Trump.
Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Pledge of Allegiance.
And actually earns royalties off of it for using his name and his image.
Technically, the Trump Bible is incomplete, though, when it comes to the Constitution.
Well, here's the deal. Lee Greenwood's Bible, it doesn't include Amendments 11 through 27 of the Constitution, which includes women's right to vote and the abolition of slavery.
The cost? Around $60. So 55,000 of those, that's just over $3 million.
In fact, I've got a Bible app right here on my phone.
How much did that cost?
Nothing.
But if Bibles are bought, is that even legal? Representative Mark McBride says no.
That's for that legislature to decide on.
He points out Walters can't greenlight purchases over $25,000 on his own.
That you can't take money from one place and move it to another and spend on another.
The state Supreme Court also decided districts have the final say on books in classrooms. Many already have told News 4 they won't mandate the Bible. Yet the proposal outlines the addresses for over 500 schools to be delivered within 2 weeks of the final agreement.
There are about 43,000 classroom teachers in the state of Oklahoma. So 55,000 is obviously significantly more than that.
And Representative McBride says he has asked for an attorney general's official opinion on the proposal as well as the purchase. We've reached out to the Secretary of Education, who approves any purchases over $25,000. Have yet to hear back.
Let's bring in our international affairs editor, Philip Turl, to discuss now. Philip, this has been an important week for the war in Ukraine in the sense that both the U.S. and Russia have ramped up rhetoric. Washington has, of course, given Ukraine the green light to fire long-range missiles within Russian territory. Meanwhile, Putin has threatened the West with a brand new ballistic missile. So break it down for us. What's going on and why now?
Okay, this is called, from the Russian point of view, intimidation of not only Ukraine but also the West. And as far as the United States is concerned, Joe Biden's coming to the end of his mandate. He's decided to give the green light for the use of these long-range missiles into Russian territory to hit Russian munitions depots, which has been a red line for Vladimir Putin and for the Russians since the start of the war. Several of those red lines have been broken since the start of the war. This is why we've seen this ramping up of the pressure by the Russian President Vladimir Putin, the firing of this Oreshnik missile this week. But when push comes to shove, there's not an awful lot at the moment that Vladimir Putin can do, because if he starts using nuclear weapons, that's going to push this war into a much more dangerous situation. And he knows that although he's been threatening nuclear weapons for months, if not since the start of this war, I don't think anybody really wants to take him seriously on that, because he knows that the day he uses a nuclear weapon against Ukraine, then that is going to open up the door to other nuclear nations using nuclear weapons against Russia, which is something, of course, that he doesn't want. So a lot of saber rattling, a lot of nuclear saber rattling, and all of this with one aim in mind, and that is that who is coming along on the 20th of January to the White House? Donald Trump. Donald Trump has said right the way down the line, I'm going to solve the Ukraine war in 24 hours, probably even before I take office. We don't know how Donald Trump is going to do that, whether that means that Ukraine is going to lose the war or Ukraine is going to lose out vast amounts of its territory, whether that means that Russia is going to put its troops out of Ukraine. We don't know that either. But I think there's a lot of anticipation that things will fundamentally change once Donald Trump gets to the White House, and this is a jostling of positions, trying to ramp up support on both sides, be it from the United States and Ukraine or from Russia, to be in a strong negotiating position when Donald Trump does get to the White House, so that they will be able to obtain more from a ceasefire, from a peace deal that Donald Trump says he's going to be able to bring about when he gets into being president on January the 20th.
So then in the face of all this, what's been the response of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky?
Well, he has made it pretty clear that he thinks that there's no way that Vladimir Putin wants to negotiate. He said basically this week the firing of this rocket, this ballistic missile into Ukraine is the final proof that Russia does not want a peace deal with Ukraine, and it's going to carry on firing those missiles and trying to win as much territory as it possibly can before Donald Trump gets to the White House. He's asked for Western partners to get together to provide Ukraine with a new shield to protect it from missiles falling on the country. It's going to be difficult for that to be put into good use before the arrival of Donald Trump in the White House, and certainly as far as the Oreshnik missile is concerned, because there's no way of firing that down. Ukraine is open, of course, to further attacks by that missile. You know that these missiles can be used with just conventional weapons on, but also can take nuclear warheads. For the moment, there doesn't seem to be any sign that Russia's going to use those nuclear warheads, but I think there is concern in Ukraine that this conflict is taking on a dramatic new turn. We've seen a moving out of the parliament from Kyiv in Ukraine, and also Ukraine and NATO are due to meet this week with Mark Rutte, the new head of NATO, to discuss what move to go forward and how they see that situation playing out in the months to come.
Philip, thank you very much.
Let's get a little more reaction right now from Capitol Hill and News Nation's Joe Khalil. Joe?
Yeah, well, look, this is a serious escalation, as you just heard from Russia, for the first time, threatening directly not just to hit a target within Ukraine, but to hit a NATO target. We're talking about that base that you all have been discussing in Poland. This is in the northern part of the country, and it's important to a base where offensive weapons are kept. This is purely a defensive base. It was largely brought up by the United States, but again, a NATO base with missile defense capabilities in the case that Russia or, frankly, China or someone else might try to attack a NATO nation. This would be one of the first lines of defense there. And obviously, this isn't happening in a bubble, Adrian. This comes just a day after Vladimir Putin went on TV and announced that new weapon that he says they fired off, this new ballistic missile that has the capability to carry a nuclear weapon on it. Now, there was no nuclear weapon in that attack, but still, the threat is there. The fact that he is now suggesting this is concerning and is an escalation. And it comes as the United States and the UK have now greenlit the Ukrainian ability to launch American and British-made weapons into Russia. So across the board, what you're seeing is concern that this could potentially be an escalation of the conflict more generally. But when the United States hears Vladimir Putin make these kinds of threats, obviously they take it seriously.
Joe, what are we hearing from American officials in response to these threats from Moscow?
Yeah, so interestingly, we reached out to several senators, several lawmakers, people who were in the defense sphere. We're talking about the Armed Services Committees, Foreign Affairs, Foreign Relations Committees. We've not gotten responses directly from them yet on the threats to the NATO base in Poland, which is a bit surprising to me, at least not yet. But on the other threat, on Russia sending this new weapon, as they say, we did hear the White House commenting on it yesterday. This is Karine Jean-Pierre from the podium.
The escalation at every turn, at every step, is coming from Russia. They're the ones who are escalating this. They're the ones who started this war. It is because of their aggression into a sovereign territory, Ukraine. And this war can end today. You hear us say this over and over again. It can, if Russia would stop the war and stop what they're doing with their aggression.
Adrian, what I found interesting from my perch here on Capitol Hill is Democrats generally are united in supporting Ukraine. Republicans are more split. You've got a faction party that says we've spent too much money on Ukraine. You've got another faction that is very pro-Ukraine, and that faction of the party, led in part by Mitch McConnell, has been criticizing the Biden administration for not acting quickly enough. And what he has said is that when we continue to fear Russian escalation, what we are missing is that Russia continues to escalate anyway. So just an interesting perspective, I think, from Mitch McConnell and others who agree with his view on this issue.
All right, Joe Khalil, thank you so much for reporting live for us there from the Hill.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
The first shot was when the door was closed. The second shot was when the door was open and the shot been made and she fell down to the ground.
Is there children there?
Yes, there's two.
Where's the other one? There should have been three. They were just out there.
So one is at school. The other one is upstairs.
Radio traffic between dispatchers and police made it sound as if they knew of the suspect and victim before the incident this morning. It sounds like they both knew each other. I spoke with a neighbor who says she's lived in this condo complex since 2017 and never witnessed anything like this.
All my neighbors were just peaceful. Everybody, nobody argues or anything. So, it's just shocking because nothing happened over here. Nothing. So, it's crazy.
Just after 7 in the morning on November 18th, Springfield Township Police responded to the 2100 block of Lincoln Avenue following reports of a shooting. When officers arrived at the scene, they discovered an unresponsive adult female lying outside the front of the home.
Stephen, neighbors tell me this is a usually quiet condo community. A deadly shooting is not typical activity in this part of Springfield Township. That is why neighbors say they were absolutely shocked to find out that a woman was shot and killed essentially right in their backyard. Police were called to this part of Lincoln Avenue in Springfield Township around 7 this morning for reports of a shooting. When officers arrived on scene, Springfield Township PD found a woman who was shot and killed. The coroner was on scene late this morning and then left a little while ago. There is still an active police presence in this section of this complex, and detectives have been going in and out of this condo collecting evidence. I want you to take a listen to the moments police were dispatched to this home this morning.
Spurs Township on scene, 2179 Lincoln Avenue, for what appears to be maybe a felonious assault shooting. Just arriving.
And police have not released information regarding a suspect or if anyone has been arrested in this case. They also have not released the name of the woman who was killed or her age.
The victim in the tragic incident was identified as 33-year-old Lucretia Black, who was sadly pronounced dead at the scene after suffering multiple gunshot wounds. Authorities quickly identified the suspect as Lucretia's wife, 42-year-old Taria Brown, who had married Lucretia in December 2023. After the shooting, Brown fled the scene in a dark-colored 2014 Chevrolet Cruze, speeding away before first responders arrived. Law enforcement agencies were alerted with details about the suspect and the vehicle. A couple of hours after the shooting, officers spotted Brown driving the Chevrolet in Clinton County and attempted to pull her over. Brown failed to stop, and a high-speed pursuit ensued. The chase continued until Brown exited the interstate and came to a stop on a county road near State Route 28. It was during this final stop that Springfield Township Police reported hearing gunfire from Brown's vehicle, followed by shots fired by the pursuing officers. Tragically, Brown was pronounced dead after the exchange of gunfire, but fortunately, no troopers were injured in the incident. The Indiana State Police confirmed that the situation began on the interstate and ended near a gas station at the State Road 28 exit. At least one shot was fired during the exchange, but investigators are still working to determine who fired the initial shot. It remains unclear whether Brown was struck by police gunfire. Police also reported that a gun was found in the car, and at least one shot was fired from Brown's vehicle as well as from the troopers. The number of officers who fired their weapons, as well as the exact number of shots fired, has not been disclosed. Following the gunfire, Indiana State Police's SWAT unit approached the vehicle using an armored vehicle. Upon approaching the car, they found Brown deceased inside, and no further injuries were reported. The Indiana State Police's Criminal Investigation Division is currently leading an investigation into the shooting as they continue to piece together the details of the tragic series of events. A Facebook post made by a close friend of Lucretia provided a bit more insight as to what may have caused everything to go left. She stated, "I don't know why people are sharing them together, like she didn't just kill my friend. My friend didn't want to be with her anymore. She is a coward. You killed yourself because you couldn't have your way. She was old and controlling, a true female narcissist. My friend was on the phone begging for her life, and she still took it. They did not live together. There is no excuse why you went to her house and uncooked her car battery so that she couldn't leave and took her life. This is not fair." Another post read, "To wake up and see you're no longer here baffles me. It's never okay to take a life, and you didn't deserve that no matter what the circumstances were. To lose your life to your own partner, your wife, is what makes it even more hurtful. Friend, this wasn't supposed to happen to you at all. You both lost y'all life due to domestic problems. She didn't have to shoot you. That was the cowardly thing to do." Neighbors were deeply shaken by the events, especially since their normally quiet neighborhood was not accustomed to such incidents. One was informed by others that a bullet hole had been found in her window. She described the morning as traumatizing, with police and crime tape outside her home and her neighbor's lifeless body nearby. She expressed gratitude that she was in the back of her house, where her grandchildren usually play, as the situation could have been far worse.
They knocked on the door and told me that it was a bullet hole in my window.
A traumatizing Monday morning. Linda Sales says she looked outside of her Springfield Township apartment to see police officers and crime tape, then realized someone shot and killed her neighbor, Lucretia Black, just feet from her door, and one of those bullets hit her back window.
It's so blessed and lucky that I was sleeping, that I was in the back. I'm so thankful that my grandkids weren't here, because that's the area where they play, eat, and spend their time.
Minutes earlier,
911, do you have an emergency?
Yes, someone's dead.
a 911 call from a man who was with Black.
Who is this person to you? A friend?
She's like a caretaker to me.
At the time, the man who called wasn't sure who shot her.
Okay, do you know of her? Like, have you seen her before, or was she just a stranger?
I saw her a couple of times.
We found out through Hamilton County court records, Lucretia Black and the suspect 42-year-old Tareya Brown were married. One friend of Black described their relationship to WCPO 9 News as on again, off again, and the two would fight often. About 2.5 hours later, after the fatal shooting in Springfield Township, another shooting, this time between Brown and Indiana State Police on I-65 in Clinton County. ISP said troopers tried to stop Brown on the interstate, but said she never stopped, and during the chase, fired shots at troopers from her car. Troopers shot back at her. SWAT was also called and discovered Brown dead in her car. Indiana State Police said they recovered a gun from Brown's car, but they didn't make it clear if she died from gunshots by state troopers. I reached out to Brown's family, but I haven't heard back from them.
This all started as a traffic stop on I-65 and then ended right here at this Amoco gas station. I'm going to step out of the way because while we've been here for several hours, there's still a pretty large scene behind me here. As you can see behind me, just this large scene on the side of the gas station. The gas station has been up and running for the last few hours. I'll tell you, a lot of their focus has been behind that white truck. There is a black Chevy Cruze behind that truck. That's where a lot of the focus of this investigation has been. You can't see it again because that truck is in front of it. But I do want to show you video from when we first got here around noon this afternoon. Multiple agencies shut down this gas station as well as traffic in the area for hours during their investigation. That opened up within the last couple of hours. And it's still early on, but what we know so far is that this all started, like I mentioned, as a traffic stop on I-65 just before 11 o'clock this morning. State police tell us troopers chased the suspect to this area behind the gas station, and at some point the suspect and troopers exchanged gunfire. It is still unclear who fired their gun first. The suspect was later pronounced dead, and while we were out here, we saw several agencies and SWAT vehicles assisting state police in this investigation.
The lesson in this story highlights the dangers of unresolved emotional pain and the devastating consequences that can arise from an inability to cope with relationship struggles. It emphasizes the importance of seeking help and support when experiencing emotional distress or the end of a relationship. In this case, the tragic outcome serves as a reminder that when emotions are left unchecked or suppressed, they can lead to harmful decisions that affect not only those directly involved, but also the broader community. Additionally, the incident underscores the importance of conflict resolution, communication, and finding healthier ways to handle personal struggles. The exchange of gunfire and the subsequent loss of life also point to the critical need for improved mental health resources and interventions, particularly in situations involving domestic conflict. The story serves as a stark reminder of how violence should never be the answer to emotional pain or relational turmoil. Rest in peace, Lucretia Black.
A woman beaten and robbed believes she was attacked because she's transgender.
Police need your help identifying the suspect tonight. Fox 26's Abigail Dye joining us live after speaking with the woman. Abigail, of course, she's very shaken up.
Very much so, Raji. This happened a couple of weeks back, but her arm is still in a sling. She's still recovering, and she says that the emotional pain is even worse than the physical pain because now she's living in fear. Houston police released this video from November 9th, a woman running for her life from a stranger who then beat and robbed her at a gas station on the 16200 block of Imperial Valley in Greenspoint.
When I saw him, he was running towards me. I tried to run to the gas station. I was trying to open the door in the gas station, and he just knocked me over, and he started to pushing me and on the floor and kicking me.
Stephanie doesn't want to be shown on camera, still terrified by these moments.
He saw my purse, got my purse, and he runs. I was feeling that was my last day and that I was going to live.
The attack sent her to the hospital with a shattered elbow. Now she has metal plates in her arm. Stephanie is transgender and thinks that may have led to this. Do you feel as if you were targeted because you were transgender?
Part of, I believe so.
And you feel that way because of some of the slurs that were said to you?
Yes, because he said that comment to me.
Take a good look at this suspect. Black male.
In Whatcom County, a transgender teenager is brutally beaten, and it's all caught on video. Police now investigating it as a possible hate crime.
We do want to warn you, the video you're about to see may be disturbing. Here's North Bureau Chief Eric Wilkinson.
Right here is where you, on the thumbnail, you can see that they were pushed over and fell over the curb.
Alyssa Rubin reacts to the attack on her transgender son as if it were an attack on her.
This will haunt me for the rest of my life.
Alyssa says her child was jumped by at least 2 or 3 teens. The Bellingham High School student kicked, punched, and thrown to the ground. Alyssa says that's only part of the story.
They were screaming while they were beating them to kill the and kill the.
This October 22nd video was posted on social media, leading police to their suspects. Alyssa says her son was off campus for lunch when he was attacked, resulting in a concussion and possible traumatic brain injury, but the wounds run much deeper.
They started self-harming again, and we are worried about another inpatient stay forthcoming, and so is their psychiatrist.
The victim made it back here to Bellingham High School and asked the staff for help. That is where Alyssa says the school failed miserably.
I'm pissed.
Alyssa says despite the nature of the attack and her child's injuries, the school didn't call 911 until she demanded they do so. Bellingham High Principal Marty Atkins issued a statement 2 weeks after the incident, reading in part, "We immediately provided care and support while contacting the student's parents and the police," adding, "While we cannot comment on specific details, we want to assure you that we take any allegations of violence and hate-motivated behavior very seriously." Attorneys hired by the family tell King 5, "We believe there are additional victims of bullying and harassment within the district," adding they have received communication from students, parents, and a teacher who have experienced or witnessed harassment, alleging the school system never took any action.
They need to deal with the bullying within our district and punish these children.
As for Alyssa, she's demanding changes within the district to better address hate-based attacks.
Just move on, just keep going. That's all I can do. Fight for the rest of the kids in the district, fight for my children.
In Bellingham, Eric Wilkinson, King 5 News.
Cuba's communist-run government slashed the weight of its subsidized ration of daily bread by a quarter on Monday. Last week, the country said it had run short of the wheat flour it needs to make the bread. The bread will be reduced from 80 grams to 60 grams, or just over 2 ounces. That's about the same weight as an average cookie. The bread's price dropped slightly, too, to just under 1 peso, or 1/3 of a cent. Many Cubans earn around $15 a month and can scarcely afford to shop for more expensive bread on the private market. We must accept it. What can we do? There's no alternative, says this resident. The government blames the flour shortage on the U.S. trade embargo, a complex set of restrictions that complicates Cuba's global financial transactions. The Caribbean islands
يعني انا اقول لك احنا نعمل اي حاجه مش ولا حاجه وانا مستقبلين دور هنا وابصر يلحقنا الدور لا يمكن يلحقنا بعد 2010.
نستنى ربطة الخبز عشان نعيش لتاني يوم، احنا بناكل عشان نعيش ولا بنعيش عشان ناكل. بنجي من الصبح بنقاتل في هالزحمه وهالطابور 4 أيام أو 5 أيام، بنجي عشان ناخذ ربطة الخبز اللي هي نص ربطة، حاليا صارت نص ربطة، بدل الربطة كان ما نص ربطة، ايش بدها تكفي عيلة 10 أنفار.
A Little River County pastor who was charged with 28 counts of rape has had his day in court. James Cowan, who lived in, I believe, the Winthrop area of Little River County, was a pastor at the Little River Community Church when he was arrested on those 28 counts back in February 2024. Now, some of those counts dated back as far as 2019 up until he was arrested in February 2024. I do want to note that according to court documents, James Cowan was the parent or guardian of all of the victims in this case. Now, not long after, maybe like a week after James Cowan was arrested, or after I made the video, the first video that I made about James Cowan's arrest, I was sent some photos that were allegedly, these photos, allegedly from the inside of James Cowan's home. This is the home that James Cowan lived in with his wife, Mary, and their children, and they had several children. You can see the devastation, the squalid conditions that this family was forced to live in. And I think, you know, like what I said at the time, I think that you can live in a home that needs repairs, a home maybe that isn't in the best condition, and that be okay. You know, the conditions in this home make you feel even worse for the children that were subjected to this. There are no walls where there are supposed to be walls. The bathroom vanity is like literally falling in on itself. Just the bedding, the beds, like you can tell that these children are not being cared for.
I think one of the things that gets me about the state of the house more than anything is that it looked, according to the Book of Faces, like he was making upgrades to this building or whatever they were using for a church, but he was allowing his children to live like this, which is incredibly disturbing to me personally on so many levels. I don't know if it happened before or at the same time that James Cowan was arrested, but his children were taken out of the home and placed in foster care. I believe that the children are still in foster care. And shortly after his arrest, his wife, Mary, did file for divorce. And according to the Book of Faces, it appears that she has fully moved on from this marriage. So like I said, James Cowan was charged with the 28 counts of rape. But in addition to that, James Cowan was also charged with furnishing, possessing, or using prohibited articles. Now, he picked up that charge in August when he was caught with a 6-inch rusty drill bit that he admitted to bringing into the jail. According to jail personnel, this is something that could have been used, I guess, as a shank type material. Now, one might wonder how it was that he got that item into the jail, prison purse or not. I don't know. So on October 12th, James Cowan actually went into court and accepted a plea deal. According to this plea deal, James Cowan was to plead guilty to 3 counts of rape. Now, the first 2 counts of rape that he would plead guilty to, he would be sentenced to 25 years in the Arkansas Department of Corrections, and those sentences would run consecutively, meaning total he got a 50-year sentence. Plus, he was sentenced to 30 years on that third count of rape, suspended sentence. So 50 years plus a 30-year suspended sentence should he be released from prison. He also, of course, has to register as a SMEX offender. In addition to that, the state did drop the charges for the furnishing the prohibited articles, meaning that drill bit. He wasn't prosecuted for that, or he received no extra time on that. But James Cowan is headed to the big house. Now, I do hope the very best for his children as they are on their healing journey. I can't imagine how difficult this all must be that they've gone through this, but I do hope that this gives them some sort of feeling of justice.
Dozens more Palestinians are dead or injured as Israel struck a residential building on Sunday, saying it was seeking terrorist targets. This comes amid new comments from Pope Francis, who's calling for a genocide investigation.
Fratelli e sorelle, preghiamo per la pace.
For the first time, Pope Francis is calling for a genocide investigation in Gaza, as the number of Palestinians killed continues to grow, nearing 44,000, according to the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza. Pope Francis making his new comments in interviews for a book, excerpts of which were just released over the weekend. The Pope saying he hears from experts saying the situation has, quote, characteristics of a genocide, adding, we should investigate carefully. Pope Francis has waded into the war in the past, meeting last year with relatives of Israeli hostages and Palestinians. Then he used words like terrorism and genocide. International courts in The Hague have already begun hearings, including on genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. Over the weekend, Israel said it killed Hezbollah's top spokesperson in central Beirut. Its first attacks there in about a month.
Pope Francis has announced in some interviews that he is personally reforming the rite of the funeral for popes.
Y uno tiene que prepararse, ¿no? Estuve con el ceremoniero preparando el rito de los funerales del Papa, lo simplificamos bastante.
The Pope said that popes should be buried with dignity, but not in cotton wool. These modifications have already been published by the Vatican. Therefore, some things will change with respect to how, for example, Benedict XVI's funeral was undertaken. For example, the confirmation of the death of the Pope will not be in his room, but in a chapel. In addition, the body will be placed directly in the coffin, which will be open in St. Peter's Basilica so that the faithful can venerate it. The coffin will be simpler and only one will be used, instead of the 3 that were previously used. The Master of Liturgical Celebrations, Diego Ravelli, pointed out that, with these modifications, the figure of the Pope is intended to be enhanced as a pastor and not as a ruler.